across the technicals. Nick Twidale from ATFX joining me now. And Nick, well, I guess let's start with what we're seeing in our currency, lifting close to 65 cents, I think.
Yeah, we are. There's some massive options expiries in the Aussie today and tomorrow, and that's probably going to keep it fairly tightly linked to that 65 cent level at the moment. But sitting kind of quite nicely in the middle of that range on the dailies. It's just coming in and hitting that 200-day moving average as well. So we're kind of waiting for the next catalyst. We had enough last week to move currencies all over the place. So now it's been a bit of a smoother trading conditions for currencies so far this week. And we'll see where we go next. Really, it's going to be dominated by the dollar.
Yeah, and dominated, I guess, back to central banks now, more than the tariff whiplash, you would say.
I think a lot of us expect that and are kind of hoping to see those fundamentals come back in. So we'll start watching data a lot closely. And I think central banks are being freed up now to actually look at their data and start making decisions and rate decisions on data rather than just going, hold it, we have no idea what's coming from tariffs, because we've got a lot more clarity on tariffs. And even though there's a few still going on at the moment, really I think that we can start to see central banks making those decisions, probably starting from the Bank of England this evening.
I was about to say Bank of England, so let's have a look at what cable's doing.
I think I segued for you there, didn't I?
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the cable chart, and cable, as always, has been pretty volatile. But we had three of the major central banks last week. We had the Bank of Japan, the Fed, and the Bank of Canada, and all of them were a little bit boring for us, probably with the exception of the Fed, which were a bit more hawkish and caused that volatility. Bank of England's interesting because they've kind of had tariffs as a bit of an excuse, and they were first cab off the rank as well with regard to a deal with the US. But the UK economy, we've got high unemployment and high inflation, and it's a real battle in the MPC at the moment. So there's kind of an expectation tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see those votes, that they're thinking there's probably going to be 5 that vote for the 25 basis point cut, 2 that go for 50, and then 2 that go for a hold, because you've got this battle between, we're worried about inflation, but also worried about spiralling unemployment. So interesting what forward guidance we get from the MPC, and I think we're going to see some big moves in the currency because of that.
Now, you touched there on the Bank of Japan, which was last week. What are we seeing in dollar yen?
So dollar yen, you've got a few different factors coming in. We've got politics coming in strongly. There's a lot of people pushing for a Shiba to move aside after the elections. Bank of Japan, once again, they look to have settled the tariff issue somewhat. There's still a few things going on with car manufacturers, etc. But I think we'll see them focusing back on inflation, and we'll probably see, and we're seeing a bit of a more hawkish tone from them, which will probably lead to more upside in the yen.
Now, I'm flipping all over the globe at the moment. Let's go back to where we were and talk about the euro as well, because this healthcare stock momentum in stocks on President Trump's latest threat to impose higher tariffs. What are we seeing in terms of what euro's doing? Well,
euro actually stepped up significantly last night, and I think this is one of the issues we've got trading currencies at the moment. Is it's nice to have a narrative after the move, but we're seeing sort of pressure on the dollar at the moment, and that's come from last week's non-farms, but also from the tariffs. They're throwing a massive curveball, to use an Americanism, into the game, and we saw euro come in really strongly. So it jumped up sort of 60 or 70 points. We're up to sort of 116.60, and it was one of the big movers in the majors as well. So despite those tariffs coming through and hitting a lot of European firms, we've actually seen the euro strengthen. So we've got to trade what we see in currencies at the moment, and I think they're kind of stuck in some very big ranges, and we're going to need to look at data similar to central banks. As traders, we're going to need to look at data as it moves forward and we move away from tariff considerations, but they're still there, and while President Trump's in the chair, there's still going to be geopolitical influences for him.
Couple more years, I think. Thanks, Nick.
Not so sure.
Twidale from ATFX.